Hello, and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and today I'm joined by the man who invented the mouth guard. His name is Mike Roth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's weird because I never really get hit. Ever.
No?
No. I just tell him not to do this.
Not here. This is the moneymaker. Please don't hit
yeah.
the face.
I'm a nice guy. It's very rare that people hit me. But I was thinking, well, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
You know?
Very charitable.
Dental is not cheap.
This is true. This is true. Thank you so much. I wear my mouth guard every night. This week on the show, we have a few movies. One of them is a huge movie.
A huge
A
movie.
big movie.
Yeah, How to Be Single, right?
It's going to be, How to Be Single is it. But we will get to that one shortly. First, let's take a look at what is on the marquee this week. And we are going to start with the movie you just mentioned, How to Be Single. From director Christian Ditter, we have a cast of Dakota Johnson, Rebel Wilson, Allison Brie, Anders Holmes, Leslie Mann. Damon Wayans Jr. shows up.
Yeah.
And it is basically Dakota Johnson is she's the shy girl, the
Country mouse.
the country mouse.
Yeah.
I was actually going to say the mousy girl. And she starts working at this new firm, and she meets the party girl. Of course, that's Rebel Wilson. That's every character she plays. And the party girl gets her to open up and become like her. And you also have Leslie Mann, who is the career lady, who suddenly has a shift in her life and decides she wants kids. Now you have the whole movie is basically a series of different people trying to recapture youth, figure out their future, deal with relationship issues, and kind of just be people, I guess.
Yeah.
And you have Anders Holmes playing Anders as the local bartender who's like the big hero, I guess. Like he's always trying to save the day, especially with Allison Brie's character, but he's hooking up with everybody.
The way I looked at this movie is they were inspired by an eHarmony commercial. They took some extreme stereotypes of singles. Tom is the guy who is the player, and he has the playbooks, and he has the rules. And then you have the opposite guy who was played by Jake Lacey, Ken, who was the I don't play games, I'm really into you type guy.
Right.
You had the girl that wants to be in career, doesn't want babies or relationships. You had the promiscuous party girl. You also had your I want to get married too quick, and for some reason I felt like it was inspired by like online dating commercials.
I'm 100% with you. That is a great analogy.
But every single one of these people is an extreme stereotype of those type of characters, and all they do is cliche things to get their points across.
Mike, before that movie started, I want to say like 10 minutes into the movie, I got my notepad, I'm taking notes, right? And I wrote a synopsis of what I assumed the movie was going to be with each of these characters. I started writing where these characters were going to track, and it was almost spot on.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so she's going to want her to party with her, and then she's going to change and decide to want a baby, and this guy's hooking up with her, and it came out almost exactly.
Yeah.
There were no swerves on these characters.
They didn't even do anything original.
No.
I've seen like this scene where the career-minded woman, because of course someone who loves their career isn't truly happy.
Nope.
They have to have babies. They had this scene where she's talking to the baby saying,
Right.
I don't want you. But the baby is so cute and it's not saying anything. She decides, yes, I need a family. I've seen this in many movies
I need
before.
a family now.
Yeah.
Cut to pregnancy test.
Yep, it was that quick. And I felt actually kind of bad for all these stereotypes because they are extreme. I mean, come on. The promiscuous girl who likes to drink,
Rebel
only
Wilson
one
was
who
just...
never really finds love. That's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm
You
fine with
expect that in this type of movie.
The thing is I found myself thinking halfway through this movie, is it okay if I just don't care about any of these people? Because that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
I don't care what happens to any of you. There could be a bomb that goes off in the bar and takes you all out, and the movie's done, and I walk out and don't think about the movie twice. Because there was no character development. All these people were exactly what you said, stereotypes of real characters.
I lost all my caring actually pretty early in the film. It was the scene that I was to where the doctor is talking to the baby. And that scene went on way longer than what everybody else who's done that before. I was like, okay, wrap it up. We get where you're going.
Yeah, it was not good. What did you give How to Be Single?
I can't give it anything higher than a 1.5.
All right.
This movie isn't made for me. I think it even advertised itself as a stereotypical chick flick. But I don't think women should like this movie either. It's boring. It's very boring.
It makes females seem completely shallow.
Yeah.
All of the characters are really quite shallow and one-dimensional people. And that's not what you should want to aspire to be. I gave the movie 1 star.
Wow.
Yeah, it was not good.
No, it was not.
It was boring and not good. So that's where I gave it.
I got one more thing.
Yes.
You notice that all these characters actually were playing characters they've already done, but not as well as they usually do.
They all. That's half of these people what they do.
Yeah, the Alison Brie. I wanted to call her Annie the entire time,
right.
but she wasn't doing as good as Annie.
Exactly.
I don't know. Okay.
All right, moving on. What do we have next on the marquee, sir?
Next on the marquee, we have Zoolander 2. Director Ben Stiller is at it again, where he directs and he stars as Derek Zoolander. This takes place about 15 years after the last movie. And if you remember from the last movie, Derek builds a building for children that can't read so good.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was a mishap where the building fell, and it killed his wife, and it horribly scarred his best friend and model and co-star, Owen Williams, who plays Hansel. Oh, yeah, that's what I said. Owen Wilson, right? Oh, man.
Sorry.
Well, anyhow, so these people, they're devastated, and they go their own way. Derek is a widower who's trying to raise a child. Hansel.
Yes, Hansel,
is going out to the desert to live with his true love, which is a pack of orgies.
Nomads.
Which is also,
weird.
the voice is the Kiefer Sutherland. But there's a lot of characters of the one object he loves.
Right.
But they're drawn back into the real world because there's a crisis where all the beautiful people are being killed with Derek Zoolander's signature...
Ooh, the blue steel.
Blue steel look. Penelope Cruz plays the investigator that brings them together. And we also have a little side story of not Ben Stiller, Derek Zoolander, getting back in touch with the child that he thought he lost forever because he's too stupid to know the laws.
Yeah.
This movie basically is the same feel as the first Zoolander, which I really didn't care for too much. I really liked the gasoline scene, but that was it. What are your thoughts?
So I really actually enjoy the first Zoolander movie.
Okay.
And I was kind of looking forward to this, trepidatious, because we have had a bad history between the Dumb and Dumber sequel. What was another one? Anchorman 2. These comedies that come back after a long gap. Unnecessary sequels.
You liked National Lampoon's
Love
Vacation.
But all right. Let's see what we got. And this movie just felt so lazy. It felt like all of the jokes and almost everything was rejected jokes from the first movie. They're like, what did we cut out of that last one? Let's just use those. That's fine.
Yep.
And Ben Stiller just there was no chemistry. And it felt like in place of actual jokes, they just threw 1,000 cameos at you. Here's a bunch of faces
there's tons.
to distract you from the fact that there's nothing going on in this movie.
Remember Billy Zane and his career?
Right? And it just felt like that was in place of actual jokes. And you had Kyle Mooney and Kristen Wiig and Will Ferrell all in there. And Kyle Mooney's character was annoying. And Kristen Wiig was very blah. And Will Ferrell even... I like Mugatu, and he was just kind of blah as well, and it did not work for me. There was just no laughs for me at all.
I got a few chuckles, but a lot of my chuckles were pretty much from the preview chuckles.
That's the other part is they did burn the couple of scenes that I probably would have laughed at. They burned in the trailers, and it just felt like in the first movie. It's funny because it's a farce, and it's a farce on Zoolander just being an airhead model.
Yeah.
Him and Hansel being just airhead models. In this movie, he's completely incompetent. He has an IQ of like 30 in this movie, and he doesn't know anything. He's not an idiot. He's just all about himself and doesn't know the world around him. In this movie, they forgot about that, and it wasn't the character from the first movie.
I would say one of the good things about this is the stimulating colors. There was a lot
there was a lot of things seizure-inducing. It felt the funny thing to me is the kind of meta narrative that runs throughout the movie of these two guys who are trying to recapture former glory, and that they're trying to just desperate to relive something that they had in the past.
Yeah.
Very much what this movie was. It was these two guys going, hey, remember when we were Zoolander? And remember how great that was? Like, yeah, the goodwill is gone. That was a good movie in some eyes. This movie, instead, we'll just replace it with a bunch of fat jokes at the expense of a kid. There was an endless stream of fat jokes aimed at a kid.
Yeah, it was actually
That's what the humor we're going for now?
But the humor, on the other half, is you're not supposed to laugh that the kid is fat. You're supposed to laugh at how terrible that
But I didn't laugh at any of it because it was terrible. It all fell completely flat for me. Yeah. I was underwhelmed by the Zoolander 2. This just worries me that these sequels that come out 15, 20 years after the fact, we don't need to keep doing those with comedies.
Well, maybe Ben Stiller should just stop doing comedies. Or
you and I had a discussion off air about that. I think Ben Stiller just needs to focus on directing for a little while and not put himself in front of the camera when he directs.
Yeah.
Because he's had successful ones with it, but I think he's got something. He just needs to get away from the front of the camera for a little while. That's just me.
Oh, he did Tropic Thunder, right?
He did?
Yeah, I didn't care for that.
See, but he did Cable Guy. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was really good.
He did the first Zoolander. I mean, there's been things, but there's also been bad things. So ultimately, you might be surprised at my score. I really hated this movie.
Yeah? Oh, boy.
I gave it a half a star.
Oh!
This was a comedy that I never laughed once in. To paraphrase the great Leonard Maltin, who wrote about this was the first movie he walked out on. I don't blame him.
Wow.
This movie had nothing for anyone. No comedy. What's there for you then?
I was kind of zoned out in it. There was enough action in it to keep me pacified, and I had a couple of small chuckles every once in a while. Usually from what I've seen in the trailer,
Sure.
There was. If I'm going to say anything good, there was okay pacing and a lot of pretty colors to look at.
Very good. What does that get you?
I gave it a 2.5.
Wow.
Extremely mediocre movie.
Oh, man. If I wouldn't have seen the Benedict Cumberbatch reveal in the trailer, I think that would have been funny.
And it's really weird that the trailer made it seem like Cumberbatch was going to be actually a huge character in it.
Yeah,
that was his only part, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's...
Yep.
I could have been zoning out again. He could have showed up again. I just didn't care.
Oh, yeah. So that was your Zoolander 2. Moving on, our final movie on the marquee this week is the big one, the record setter. That is Deadpool. Deadpool.
Crazy.
Yeah, which is set basically every superhero box office record in opening weekend from director Tim Miller. Tells the story of the merc with the mouth, Wade Wilson, played by Ryan Reynolds, who is in love, finds out he has stage 4 cancer, basically, and he undergoes this treatment thinking that it'll save him, make him a hero, and what it does is they torture him. A guy named Ajax, played by Ed Skrein, basically tortures him, unleashes this mutant gene within him that makes him invincible, and awful heinous to look at, and thus we have Deadpool, the quick-witted, very vulgar anti-hero who's out on a mission.
He's very insane too. He doesn't have a very constant track of thought.
No, and so this is, I mean, it's been talked about everywhere. This is your very R-rated superhero movie. They did not stumble into their R rating with this movie. They went all in on it. And hit it. It's a really interesting story, just Deadpool himself, because Deadpool knows that he is in a comic book universe.
Yes.
So there is constant breaking of the fourth wall, constant self-referential things, talking about Ryan Reynolds himself, talking about where he is in the universe, referencing all kinds of things, referencing Hugh Jackman, calling him out. I mean, just everything that you as an audience member would think when you only see 2 X-Men in this movie, he mentions that. It's almost like the studio couldn't afford a third X-Man. I mean, it's great. You have...
I've watched a short video. There's supposed to be over 100 Easter eggs and stuff like that. And even the people who are doing the 100 don't think they got them all.
It's great. You have T.J. Miller in here as a buddy of his running the bar. Those two have a great chemistry because they both are super snarky. And I was almost afraid that they would be like two dogs fighting for the same bone because he and Ryan Reynolds are kind of very much cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
Worked great. You have Colossus, the fully CGI Colossus. Looked great. I was skeptical on that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, full CGI, we'll see. We get the first look at Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
That was pretty cool.
Oh, man. Phenomenal.
I know this is kind of nerdy. I almost squeaked when I saw Hydra Bob.
Yeah.
And most people don't know what he's like, oh, it's Bob. But I'm like, it's Bob!
Another one of those. You have Gina Carano as Angel Dust. I thought she was perfectly cast because she is uber physical as an MMA fighter. She's great in that, and the scenes with her and Colossus are a lot of fun.
Matter of fact, one of my marks against this movie was Colossus's hand. Hate him.
Okay. It's just, the thing I love about this movie is Ryan Reynolds is funny in his bones.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds is this guy, and I couldn't see anyone else doing this. And it feels like, with the success of this movie, he's going to be able to stay in that suit for a while, and I'm really pumped about that.
I'm pretty much sure this is going to be his defining role. No one's going to, I mean, people remember him as Van Wilder and all his rom-coms.
Two guys, a girl, and a pizza place.
But I don't think anybody really remembers that show. But anyhow, I think this is going to be his defining career, and I really think this is going to be a huge launch for Tim Miller. This is his first full-length movie.
They put a lot on the line, a lot on his shoulders.
And the budget was really small compared to a blockbuster movie like this. I mean, I could see him doing this over and over and over again. Hopefully not to the T like Zoolander tried doing, but...
No, but the success of Deadpool and the R rating, which has always been an impediment to theater, to studios, because you're cutting your audience.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that a studio would come out with a campaign telling you, don't come to this movie if you're a kid. Don't bring your kids. I've never seen a studio tell you, trying purposely to cut a big portion of what would be your normal audience out. And it pays off hugely. Normally the studio would be like, hey, it's on you as a parent. You want to bring your kid, we'll take your money. And they're like, don't bring the kids because we want to keep making these and we don't want to hear complaints from mothers around the world.
One of the things that I think was imperative that they did that is because this isn't a movie that you could just put in and out the rated R stuff. It's not like one of those HBO shows where they're like, we haven't had nudity yet, we have to have nudity. This whole movie was written, and it has to be rated R. You can't take out the bits.
No.
Otherwise, this is going to be terrible.
The character. Yeah. I mean, they would have tried this in the early 90s. They would have tried a PG-13 version, and it would have been awful.
And we'll talk about that.
One of the things that I really loved is stylistically the movie looked great. The jokes, the pacing was fun. One of the things with the pacing that I thought was a brilliant idea, because Deadpool is kind of an unknown quantity to a lot of people that are coming to see this movie. A lot of people are coming word of mouth, and the word of mouth on this is huge, is that they didn't divert away from Deadpool himself for too long in the movie. You open up with, first off, the greatest opening credit sequence of any movie. I'm already laughing during the opening credits.
Yep.
I mean, if you just go see the opening credits. So you get that. You get instant action with Deadpool, and then he breaks the fourth wall, starts talking to you, and you cut back to an origin story. But you come back to Deadpool very quickly, and so you're never too far away from Deadpool for too long. They go back to a little origin, they come back again to Deadpool. It's not a half hour without the guy in the suit. And that's a smart idea for people who are there to see Deadpool.
I think one of the things about this movie that is genius, and you don't hear people throw out genius, but the timing in this was awesome. I love that timeline where they show you, like you just described. You took the middle, you brought it to the front, and then you had an origin, then they fast forward through the middle. Yeah. That was brilliant. Yeah. It's been done before, but when it came down to comedic timing, these jokes came out. It was just beautiful. It was like watching Tony Hawk flip a skateboard. These jokes, they would give you the punchline, and then later on, you're going to get the setup. They set up things, and you never really saw it coming until you saw the punchline. You saw jokes within a joke. When you thought one gag was kind of getting tired because they're getting repetitive, they throw something right in the middle that was actually kind of wholesome, and you were like, what? What did I see? And then boom, right back.
So good.
My mouth was open just from the pure artfulness of how to tell a joke. None of these jokes were an intelligent caliber by any means, but the way they did it, honest. For the first 20 minutes, they could have just said, sorry, folks, we're done with the movie, and I would have just walked out and said, that was great. I'm going to see it again.
Yeah, it was...
But I'm not. The whole movie was good. It's
just so spot on. I was worried about how they're going to do it. Now they changed his origin story a little. Issues with that. They took some license with that. But the plot that they used, where love kind of drove your creation of the character, and revenge and vanity drove the plot of Deadpool.
Yeah.
I thought was really interesting. I thought that was a really cool choice. To do it that way. Ed Skrein I was really worried about. As the main villain, as Ajax, he's the transporter. Oh, man, the last time I saw this guy, I wanted to go through the screen and punch him because he was terrible. Yeah. And so as soon as I saw him pop up, I'm like, oh, no, it's the transporter. He was fine. He worked.
Yep.
And just there was so much that the back and forth with everyone that Deadpool came into contact with Nichelle Nichols, the great Lieutenant Uhura in this movie, great. His interplay with Colossus is just, it had me laughing so much.
He was the only beef that I had. It wasn't Colossus, but the voice acting for Colossus I thought was a little bit below what this movie
Standard
should
Russian
have been.
accent?
It was standard stereotypical accent. And it's crazy to get an actor for this that could be Colossus without the CG, but they make it all CG. So why'd you get that guy in the first place? I don't know.
Well, maybe at some point, Colossus comes down to his regular form, and that's your guy. So the voices match up.
I guess.
Because we're getting sequels. The sequel is already in the works, which is beautiful.
Because I think all they really need is a decent voice actor. Yeah. And
I was really impressed, though, because I'm very skeptical of fully CGI characters.
Oh, yeah.
And when I see that in the opening credits, a completely CGI character. Cool. Yeah, it was, oh, man, the whole final battle scene was a lot of fun. And even in battle, the jokes don't stop. I mean,
no. And the references, too. It goes all the way to the end. And a lot of people will say these Easter eggs, these references. When you go to this movie, you do not need to know anything about Deadpool. I went with a buddy of mine, and on Valentine's Day.
How romantic.
It went well. But he didn't know anything about Deadpool, and he was just as floored as me. Through the whole movie. Both of our mouths were just like, oh, what?
The big takeaway with this movie, as far as the more than just this movie, is that it's really changing the game for what studios are capable of now. In the course of 2 weeks, the attitude of studios has completely changed because dollar signs speak. And box office tickets tell studios what they can get away with, and now we already, 3 days after release, you know what, I think that Wolverine 3, we're going to make that R-rated. Yeah. We're finally going to give you the Berserker Wolverine that everyone's been asking for 20 years.
And also we heard news that, I mean, even though Todd McFarlane's been working on it for a while, he tried making a rated R movie back in comic book hero, Spawn, back in the 90s, but now people are talking about him making a sequel to the movie.
Yeah, and, I mean, we've seen rated R superhero comic book movies before. We've seen the Blades and the Spawns and the Crows and a number of them. None of them to the success that this has been. Critically, financially, everything. And it's just a game changer, and it's really exciting. It's really exciting because I have been standing on the stump preaching about how superhero movies are in a bad spot. I'm looking out over the horizon, and I see the end coming. And I think this helped change things. I still think Batman vs. Superman is going to be...
Yeah.
But that's me. That's me. We'll see. But I'm really excited what this did, and I'm excited to see another one. This movie got done, and I was there with my brother-in-law, and I said, I'm ready for number 2.
Yep.
Let's do it. Like, it could be, you could tell me to walk into the next theater, Deadpool 2 is playing, I'll give you another 2 hours of my time.
I really hope this doesn't make it where everybody when they have a movie that should be PG-13 is forced to.
It didn't make money because it was R-rated. It made money despite it being R-rated. Yeah. That's huge. That's huge.
And producers sometimes get confused.
That they do. Ultimately, what did you give Deadpool? We haven't given scores.
I gave it a 5.
Okay.
This is a movie that is brilliant. Whether you find the humor crass and you don't like the nudity and stuff like that, the way they told a joke and the timing was absolute genius. This is a thrill ride from the beginning to the end, throwing out a cliche of my own.
I agree. My first 5-star movie of the year. Go see it. I've seen it twice. I'm looking forward to seeing it a third time.
Nice!
Yeah, we rarely agree on 5 stars.
I don't think we've ever done 2 5 stars.
It's pretty good. So there it goes. Check out Deadpool if you're one of the 9 people that hasn't seen it. But let's take a look backwards to a movie that you were kind of hinting at a moment ago with our real reviews. Movie throwback. We are going to throw back to
1997.
Yes.
Todd McFarlane, the writer of Spawn, decides to make a movie based on his Spawn character. Spawn is a story of Al Simmons. He's a mercenary who gets killed. He gets sent to hell, and then Satan sends him back to Earth as kind of a leader to his minions. His main job is to kill Jason Wynn, who is played by Martin Sheen. One of the huge controversies about this movie, it was supposed to be rated R, but the producers didn't want it to be rated R. It got cut to PG-13, and it didn't do too well. Even with a DVD release, the stuff that was put in to make it R again. But what did you feel about that movie?
Oh, man. So in my memory, this movie was great. People would ask me, you see Spawn? Oh, yeah, Spawn was great. Effects were amazing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I rewatched the movie. Mike, oh man, has a movie. I don't remember a movie that has changed in my on rewatch as much as Spawn. This movie had the worst effects. It fell in that terrible zone of CGI was just starting to really become prevalent.
Yeah.
And they were maybe a year early with it. The effects were horrible.
They were like video game PlayStation 1 type effects, eye-bleedingly bad.
Really bad. And I was surprised by the dialogue was like made for TV dialogue. I remember this movie being a lot of fun. I was cringing. I was laughing through all of it. It does not hold up.
There is only one thing that I still like about it, and the soundtrack is amazing. They had collaborations between a lot of huge metal bands at the time. You had Filter and Crystal Method, Marilyn Manson Sneaker Pimps, Korn, Dust Brothers, Metallica DJ Spooky Prodigy, and Tom Morello. It goes on. I'm not going to keep on going, but it's a great soundtrack. So if you're interested, check out the soundtrack.
There you go.
Read the comic book.
Wow, was I shocked by how bad it held up. Man.
Yeah, I was too. I saw it sitting there, and I'm like, I got to watch this, and I felt really bad that I had to draw you into it too.
That's what we do. They're not always winners. They are. Sometimes we spare you from having to watch the stinkers. That is all for our throwback. Let's take a look ahead at what is coming out the weekend of February 26th. Hey. That's this guy's birthday right there.
Happy birthday.
Hey.
Pre.
What is coming soon that weekend? We have 999. 999 is a movie about a gang of criminals and corrupt cops who take down police officers. Got a big cast of Gal Gadot and Kate Winslet and Norman Reedus, Aaron Paul. It's a big cast of people. Woody Harrelson. We'll see what that does. We also have Gods of Egypt. You want to talk about movies that have weird-looking effects? This movie has me not knowing what's going on with it. It looks crazy.
It has the Plipkin with a snake.
It's got all kinds of stuff going on. So weird. And finally that week we have Eddie the Eagle, the biopic, I guess you would say, about Eddie the Eagle, the British ski jumper from the 80s, starring Hugh Jackman and the kid that played Eggsy in Kingsman.
That's awesome.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. So those are all the movies that are coming out the weekend of February 26th. Before we leave you, of course, we have to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, the Palace in Sun Prairie. Thank you for sponsoring our show. We do appreciate it. If you want to find more from us, of course, you can always find us on Facebook or on Twitter at Real Reviews TV. Go check out any of our previous episodes, either on YouTube, Real Reviews KSUN will find it, or on KSUN itself, ksun.tv, all those places and more.
If you like talking to us, please do. We're friendly people. We always respond back.
We are friendly. Go find us on there. And check out any other things that we have working on our Facebook page. There's other stuff going on. But Until next week, sir, when we are talking about Race and Risen and the Witch.
Yep.
Yeah. Until then, though, my name is Jameson.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.